Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak about my country and my Navy. Let my first words in this prestigious symposium be to greet, on behalf of our Commander-in-Chief, Admiral Enrique Larrañaga, to all the participants that gather here, and to thank our host, the Navy League of Canada, in association with the United States Department of Defense, Asia-Pacific Center for Security Studies, and the Royal Canadian Navy, for the excellent organization and the warm hospitality of this great country, which I had the opportunity to know very well since my 2 years as Defense Attaché in Ottawa, and especially with those challenging years, seeing the temperatures going down from 40 degrees above zero to 40 degrees below zero. Without a doubt, all coastal countries depend on the sea for their security and prosperity. However, in the case of Chile and other countries, such as our host, Canada, this dependence acquires greater prominence as a consequence of their geographical characteristics and the myriad of maritime and security interests that derive from them. The following presentation intends to exhibit the importance of the sea for the Chilean security and its development, the way in which Chile and its Navy are facing the new economy and defense challenges of the 21st century, to give an answer to a topic requested by this conference, as the topic you see in the slide. Maybe I can add to the last question, how has it coped with the tyranny of distance and threats to its maritime sovereignty? Maybe I would add the following question, and how has it coped with the tyranny of natural disaster? Unfortunately, we are used to this kind of disasters in my country. Maybe you know about the big earthquake and tsunami in 2010. And in this year, 2014, we had a big earthquake in the north of Chile. And there is so much energy gathered in that zone of the country that we know that we are facing a bigger earthquake than the one we had, 8.8 Richter. And also we have the Guinness World Record, 9.5 Richter, 1960 in Valdivia. So these threats also has a big impact, not only in the country, of course, in the Navy too. I'm going to explain a little bit afterwards. I will follow the scope you see in the screen. Chile, a maritime country, world scenario, economic and defense challenges, the Chilean Navy, what are the challenges, and final remarks. Chile, a maritime country. Its geographical physiognomies position Chile as one of the most maritime countries of the world. In effect, if one observes its geographical representation, a country of exceptional characteristics will appear. First, the length of its mainline, 4,300 kilometers, in sharp contrast to its average width of only 170 kilometers. Further, the mountainous geomorphological shape, and its multiple landforms make difficult and sometimes almost impossible to connect by land all its territory, especially the center zone with the southern tip. Additionally, even though Chile has important mineral resources, its arable land corresponds to a very small part of its continental surface, which in total is less than 800,000 square kilometers, excluding the Antarctic territory. Likewise, its position in a global context is very distant and eccentric in relation to the most important productive and consuming world centers. In the past, this was a significant difficulty for its international trade, in spite of the confluence generated by the Magellan Strait and the Drake Sea in the maritime traffic between the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. However, the maritime domain projected by its long coast, which exceeds 4.6 million square kilometers, came to compensate today the difficulties of the past. Nowadays, we clearly see that the destiny of this country of tricontinental status, for its location in South America, its oceanic island, and its Antarctic territory, is inseparably linked to the possibilities offered by its wide and generous sea. World scenario and global process. The world scenario of the early 21st century has shown a slow tendency to evolve toward some degree of multipolarity. This evolution could be accentuated if some actors as China, India, the European Union, Russia, and others continue their growing development. Also, the increasing globalization and interdependence between states process that goes far beyond a mere trade exchange, has situated economy as the main factor that affects the classical geopolitical order. Consequently, the traditional geopolitical centers are shifting to a new axis of power that until now were seen only as a remote chance. That is the case of the Pacific Ocean, which is reaching a condition of principal significance, having in its northern basin countries with major economic industrial projection and with the greatest population density in the world: China, Russia, USA, Canada, Japan, and Mexico, among others, reaching a total of 2 billion people or more. And in the southern basin, we have the South American countries, Australia, New Zealand, and the Polynesia, Micronesia, and Melanesia Islands, with more than 100 million people. This necessarily transformed the southern countries as the providers for the northern hemisphere nations. And this condition will continue increasing the north-south exchange through the Pacific Ocean, especially considering the lack of some resources in great areas of industrialization. Chile clearly realized that today, and increasingly in the future, no international actor will be absent of this tendency, because autarky and isolation are no longer a valid political alternative. Isolation undermines a given country's possibility in face of those who form coherent and stable blocks around the development and security of its members. Thus, we can state that globalization is not a phenomenon of voluntary participation, but it constitutes an integral part of the international environment impossible to be eluded, and which is present in less or more intensity in the entire geographical world, affecting the whole cultural, juridical, political, and economic spheres. Another aspect derived from the increased geographical scope of the country's economic interest and its inherent exchange network are the effects in international security of the so-called new threats. This might affect particularly the maritime security in its different levels, which may encounter in the maritime environment more vulnerability and easiness to reach the flashiness that is looking for. Economic and defense challenges. Summarizing, it is possible to state that the international picture of the 21st century's decades present challenges, opportunities, and risks for all the states. Challenges in the sense of attaining a real insertion and with the best possible conditions in the global scenario. Opportunities in relation to capitalize the associated benefits to their own interest, and risks in relation to eventual identity and sovereignty losses that can be unacceptable for some states, as well as the harmful effects of the so-called new threats, and the generation of conflicts due to the international competence with the globalization and interdependence processes. Chile, as a political actor, an emerging economy, is not unfamiliar to any of these tendencies. So it has identified and made a combination of options in order to optimize the best possibilities available in the current international picture. In that sense, the signing of various free trade agreements and the participation in international political and economical organizations, as well as the increasing integration into Latin America, are some of the measures taken that, besides of enhance its strategic stature, have intensified its roles in the extracontinental trading exchange through the employment of port terminals as gates for the Pacific trading flow towards a wide zone of the subcontinent. In relation with the foregoing, it is necessary to note that in the case of Chile, the successful exploitation of the opportunities provided by the current situation is a result of the proper use of its extensive sea, which is only possible if the country has a strong national maritime power with a good balance of its components, maritime interest and naval seapower. The described international scenario and the optimization of national interest entail important challenges for both Chile and its Navy. Challenges for the country. In relation to the country, we can assume that economic liberalism will continue gaining adherence, resulting in a more rapid progress toward a system of international network characterized by the fact that both successes and failures are shared between the states with which Chile may be a partner. This makes possible an increased interdependence, which, if balanced, contributes to a greater stability and more benefits to the country. The successful economic model adopted by our country for more than 3 decades has stimulated an open regionalism characterized by the unilateral aperture, multilateral commercial negotiations, and an increasing negotiated interrelation at bilateral and regional levels. All this has allowed the signing of different agreements of partial range, agreements of economic complementation, and finally, free trade agreements with Canada, Mexico, Central America, the European Union, the European Free Trade Association, South Korea, and the United States, among others. In the same way, it is important to recall that Chile maintains an active participation in Mercosur, Common Market of the South, APEC, and other multilateral forums such as the Pacific Alliance, perceived as a new instance of development through the natural expansion offered by the Pacific Ocean and the commercial opportunities offered by the Pacific region with the agreement of Trans-Pacific Association. As one can appreciate, Chile has addressed globalization and strengthening links with all those states and blocs that share its interest and grant some space of maneuvering in exchange for reciprocal concession, and has avoided committing in exclusive with some specific bloc. Undoubtedly, the relation between security systems and the world free trading has increased the relevance of security in the maritime environment, which in the high seas is not under the jurisdiction of some specific state, but it represents a common good that should be protected by a coordinated multilateral effort based on the respect of international law and regulations established by international agencies such as the International Ship and Port Facility Security Code established by the International Maritime Organization. The above leads us to say that the new opportunities and demands pose the international scenario to Chile stands our naval power as the instrument of security that best fit the requirements of cooperation and strategies of joint action with friendly countries and trading partners, especially when these strategies are oriented to ensure the security of vital sea lanes, including our maritime space, which with its 4.6 million square kilometers represent an essential element for a national development. Challenges for the Chilean Navy. The challenge assumed by the country demands in turn to its Navy the responsibility of keeping an effective and efficient naval power whose presence contributes to maintain security and stability in areas of interest shared by our commercial partners apart from the defense of its own nation. Through this naval power, it's possible to support our nation's foreign policy and protect our extensive maritime heritage, which is a true guarantee of survival and development of the nation as a whole. The Chilean Navy, as an institution, is close to 26,000 personnel, men and women. And I would like to highlight that our institution encloses the following services. You are looking at the slide: Coast Guard, Marines, the whole health system with all the chain of hospitals and first aid centers along the country, the personal well-being centers, and also the Navy provides almost 1,000 personnel for our main shipyard, ASMAR in Talcahuano. His principal client for ASMAR is the Navy. There are reasons to exist is to provide Chilean Navy ship maintenance and auxiliary ship construction. In the earthquake in 2010, it was almost devastated. That's why when I began, I add the question, the tyranny of national disaster, and I will show in a couple of minutes some impact about it. In the slide, you're seeing our mission, and in general terms, what we are looking for is to be a high readiness Navy. That is our intention. And to fulfill our mission organization, I will show you how we organize. I'm not going to go deep in details, just in the administrative aspect and in the operative aspect, how we organize in our Navy. The Minister of Defense, Commander-in-Chief with his staff, and these five general directorates, headed usually by 2 or 3-star admirals, personnel, logistics, finance, Coast Guard, and the Naval Operations Command. And of course, in the operative aspect, the Navy, you have to see the Naval Operations Command under the chief of the Commander-in-Chief of the Navy, and with all the operative assets under his control: the fleet, submarine, marines, naval aviation, amphibious force, and special forces. Also, and to end up our Navy organization, here you have my country. These are all the 5 naval zones, headed by usually 2-star admirals, are in charge of controlling all maritime activities in their area of responsibility, and to bring logistic support to Navy assets operating in their naval zone. In this slide, you can see the geographical distribution and jurisdictional of the 5 naval zones mentioned before. The 3-vector strategy. For the mission fulfillment, the Chilean Navy applies as a maritime strategy what we have called the 3-vector strategy. These 3 vectors or roles are defense vector. In a joint work with the Army and the Air Force, we act to deter or reject any aggression intention to our country. As one of the measures to improve this joint commitment, in 2010, the Ministry of Defense suffered a major restructure, creating the Chief of Defense Staff as the Minister Advisor in all matters related with the preparation and use of Chilean armed forces in a joint environment. This will strengthen the defense role where joint action is vital. The maritime vector. In this role, the Chilean Navy, with the support of other state organizations, contribute to national development, creating the conditions for the use of the jurisdictional maritime zones with security and in respect to the environment. By law, our Navy has the advantage of being entitled to be the Maritime Authority or Coast Guard, as well as a war-fighting Navy. In this respect, and to fulfill this role, and due to many international agreements related with search and rescue and maritime awareness in the area of responsibility, the Chilean Navy must have permanent presence in an area of 26 million square kilometers. Regarding our budget, always scant, what we do is to take advantage of the synergy of these 2 services, as shown in the present slide, and we share assets, especially in the economic exclusive zone and high seas. Mainly, as I said, we share usually in internal waters and territorial waters is mainly Coast Guard. Usually in the contiguous zone is the same, but when you go further on to the economic exclusive zone and the high seas, we began sharing assets with the Blue Navy, combatants, maritime patrol aircraft, P3s, etc. To support in the control of this huge area of responsibility, we use a command control system named Grafimar. This tool was developed upon a concept of surveillance, control, alert, and response. The use of different technologies has enabled our country, represented by the Navy, to enhance its capacities regarding the projection of its port and maritime presence, in which the use of Grafimar should be highlighted. It provides with a real-time surface picture of all vessels navigating in our SAR area of responsibility. This has the purpose of being always informed on the location of these vessels in order to offer assistance if required in case of incidents or failures, which could jeopardize safety of crew. Grafimar is the result of more than 15 years of implementation, with the participation of very highly qualified technical personnel specialized in information technologies. This software was developed within the organization with the participation of members of the staff of the Maritime Authority along the country, which has been for a very long time populating the databases with relevant information. Grafimar interacts with other entities using technologies to exchange information, including any public or private body that has the required authorization in its system. The capabilities of Grafimar are directly related to the size of the current database. This permits to obtain useful information for the relevant management processes. In the international vector, within the scope of the international vector, we conduct preventive deployments, carry out maritime interdiction activities, maintain naval presence and visit foreign ports, support activities that generate mutual trust between ourselves and neighboring countries, are part of multinational operations and international exercise, provide humanitarian aid and conduct disaster relief operations abroad, and represent the national government in some international organizations. Our involved in international activities in the international arena, we participate in many exercises and peace operations overseas, especially where our national interest is located, Latin America and the Pacific Rim. I would like to highlight Panamax and RIMPAX. The first one, as you know, is focused on the defense of the Panama Canal and the Central America region by a multinational combined joint task force. The Panama Canal is critical to the free flow of trade in the region and the entire world. The region's economy and political stability largely depend on the safe transport of several 100 million tons of cargo through the canal each year. Chile is the world's third user of the Panama Canal. That's why we joined the first exercise in 2003 with two other countries, Panama and United States. This exercise participation has greatly expanded every year since, and in the past August were 17 nations. We've been in RIMPAC since 1996, and in 2008, for the first time, Chile was assigned a task unit commander. Then in 2012, Sea Combat Commander. And this year, our Navy performed the duty as Deputy of the Combined Forces Maritime Component Commander. This was a combined work with our friends from Canada. Mutual trust, common knowledge, and lasting relationship were key for success during planning and execution phases. A smooth, rapid integration and sharing of key positions with Canadian members of CFMCC staff facilitated a strong build-up throughout the exercise. Many thanks to Canadian Navy. We have created with Argentina a combined force named Cruce del Sur, Southern Cross, for future United Nations mandates to be employed in peace operations. The new force began assembly in 2008 with headquarters alternately on each country every year. The previous are examples of our commitment to cooperative security. In the planning process, our Navy has its plan process divided into 3 levels, each of which is also divided into stages. Our long-term planning or strategic state consists of a 12-year period. This plan states our vision, mission, and establishes the long-term goals. The midterm planning or operational stage consists of a 4-year plan which corresponds to the period of each commander-in-chief with a 1-year overlap. This plan includes partial goals and the policies implemented by the commander-in-chief in office. Finally, our annual planning or tactical stage, called Annual Activity Plan, consists of tasks for each year and the necessary resource allocation to complete them. Finally, I will go in some challenges for my country and the Navy. This is Juan Fernandez Island, just to show you the impact of the tsunami 2010. The government gave the Navy the mission to support the reconstruction of this island, so it was quite a mission. This was Constitution after the tsunami. And this was one of our big challenges since 2010. Asmar, our main shipyard, was almost devastated. You can see how it ended up after the tsunami. And there you can see these floating docks. They should be here, fishing boats. And here inside this floating dock, a submarine in a refit period. And here is Cape Horn, a ship we were building that's supposed to be the lay-down ceremony by that day. That's why most of the Navy High Command was in Talcahuano for the tsunami. So this was quite a big challenge for our country. We began in 3 stages. In 6 months, we had to overcome the emergency. That means clear the whole area, the whole bay of Asmar, to recover minimum operational capability, and finally to reorganize and recover full permanent capability. We are almost done. We planned a 4-year period term, and I can tell you that today we are building ships in Asmar. Another challenge, I think the lessons learned in these disasters is that it's a tremendous opportunity to grow up and be a better country. Another challenge is sustain existing vessels and supporting infrastructure. This is a beautiful word. Do more with fewer. I know that you don't believe that, but we're trying to work on it. In times when budgets for warfighting capabilities are difficult to obtain, as we are all here well aware of, we have had to look at the multi-role approach to force development, and this applies to ships, aircraft, marines, and command and control assets, where we have to expand their use to a wider range of tasks. We are working to update our force development 2014-2030, improving our logistic process, and integrate the main data systems we had to achieve a final effect, that is, more efficiency. We have to continue with the shipbuilding up program, continue in support of our maritime domain awareness, constructing a total of 5 OPVs. We have built already 3. To keep 1 OPV in each of the 5 naval zones. Also, we're going to build an icebreaker, a medium logistic support ship, and 3 small logistic support ships. OPV Fuente Alba has ice class specifications and will be assigned to the 3rd naval zone in Punta Arenas, our main port in connection with Antarctic. This is Cape Horn. I show you Cape Horn, the ship. I know that the slide wasn't very clear, but I tried to show you the ship ashore after the tsunami in 2010. This new Chilean scientific research vessel, Cabo de Hornos, was built in Asmar, Talcahuano, and been commissioned on April 2nd, 2013. Following an intense instruction and training period, noise level emissions measurement, oceanographic and fishing equipment, and sensor trials in port as well at sea, she already initiated its operations. Operated by the Chilean Navy, she constitutes an enormous advance in modernization, equipment, and capabilities with respect to the previous naval oceanographic vessels and the limited resources that have existed within our national institutions. Being a very modern research unit, Cabo de Hornos offers exceptional capabilities for top oceanographic research, as well as enduring and maneuver skills. At the same time, as a fishery research platform, she is an extraordinary tool in support to management of living resources of the Chilean economic exclusive zone. Another challenge is Antarctic, the presence in Antarctic. Chile is part of the Antarctic Treaty and has a permanent presence there. We use our position in Magellan Strait as a hub to support the wide range of activities of the international Antarctic community. We also provide search and rescue capabilities with our assets on patrol, in particular during periods of increasing maritime traffic, either for tourism or scientific research. With Argentina, we do Antarctic Combined Naval Patrol, whose primary objective is to protect human life at sea and to preserve the Antarctic ecosystem, with the participation of naval assets from both countries, encompass a 4-month period, November-March, in stages with an alternative sharing among Argentina and Chile. Participate in international cooperative security initiatives. As was said, we are committed to international security. We are preparing our Navy to maintain an active role in global maritime security. 2 years ago, we incorporated an officer to combine Task Force 151 staff. Also, we keep, as I told you before, a standby force, Southern Cross, ready to be deployed in response to a United Nations requirement. Final remarks. We are a maritime country, and our destiny is tied to it. The Pacific Ocean represents challenges, opportunities, and risks. Chile realizes the relevance of being an actor that contributes to the security and freedom of the seas. The Chilean Navy plays a main role in this task. We have many challenges, but we are facing them with a strong commitment in achieving a more efficient Navy and thus contribute to improve the prosperity of our people and our country. Going back to the beginning, I hope I've been able to answer the question asked by the conference, the Maritime Security Challenges conference. And I'm 10 seconds past the time, but I would like to end just with one slide. And these are sea access control points in the southern tip of Chile. Those stars you see there, all of them are sea control access points. In every point, we have a house like the one you see there. That is Cape Horn. And we have a Navy family living in that house for 1 year, absolutely isolated. There is the family that today lives in Cape Horn. So I would like to end with this. What I think is the best that our Navy has is our people. Thank you very much, and sorry for your patience. Thank you for your patience.